Good evening, one and all. In today's lecture, first of all, I'll mention the topics which we have already seen. That is, we have started off with object-oriented programming, in which we know what is class, what is object. Then we also have seen the certain concepts like what is abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism. We have seen the theory part of this, and today we'll start off with the practical aspect of one of the topics, which is inheritance in Java, which is another concept in object-oriented programming. Okay, so pay attention to this PPT. Okay, so inheritance in Java. Before that, can anyone tell me if you remember what is inheritance, which we have discussed already? If anyone remembers. Okay, so inheritance is nothing but, suppose you have two classes, then one class can be derived from another class. Means the properties of class 1 can be obtained by the class 2. So that class 2 will have properties of its own as well as properties of class 1. Okay, so that is inheritance. You are inheriting the properties from another class. Okay, the inheritance is with respect to classes. So the mechanism of deriving a new class from an old class is called as inheritance. Okay, the old class is called as base class or superclass or parent class, and the new class is called derived class or subclass or child class. Okay, so base class is nothing but your already existing class. This is your base class, which is already existing, and you want to create another class which has the properties of base class. Then that class which you are going to create is called as derived class. Okay, so derived class will have properties of its own as well as that of its base class. And what are the types of inheritance? There are four types basically. One is single, other is multi-level, multiple, and hierarchical. Okay, so we'll see them one by one. Single inheritance means you have one class A and you want to derive another class B from A. So B will have the characteristics of A, or will A have the characteristics of B? Can you tell me?
B have characteristic of A.
Exactly. Okay, so B will have characteristics of A as well as its own properties. So this is single inheritance. That means basically you have only two classes. This is the diagram for it. A is called as parent and B is called as child. So example for this single inheritance, this is your class A, which is the parent class, and this is your child class. That is the one which you're going to derive from the parent. So if the parent has method A, okay, this is the method inside parent A, and that same method A will be for A class also as well as B class if you use inheritance. Okay, so class A has method A and class B has method B, as you can see. And you have another main function inside class B. Okay, inside class B you have method B and main function. Now in this main, first of all you have to create an object of this class B. I will do it using B object name equal to new B and brackets. And then using this object name obj, you will call the methods. Now since B is derived from A, how you are going to derive, how can you specify it in the program? Using this extends keyword. If you want to say B is derived from A, then you must write the extends keyword. Class B extends A. Okay, write it like this. So now using obj, which is an object of B class, using obj, which is an object of B class, you can call method A. How? Obj dot method A. Similarly, you have called method A, which is from class A. You can call its own method also. You can call the methods of class B also. How? Using object dot method B. So using the object of class B, you can call the methods of class A as well as the class B. Is this clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
What about others? Yes, is it clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance means you are going to derive only one class, but from more than one base classes, right? In the single inheritance, what we have, we had a single class and from that another class. But here in multiple inheritance, okay, multiple inheritance, you have two classes as the parent and then you have one child class. So multiple inheritance refers to deriving or inheriting from more than one base class, and this creates certain problems. Okay, what problems this will create is, suppose in class A you have a method called add. In class B again you have a method called add. So when you're going to inherit it from A and B, and when you're going to derive C, suppose you create an object of C class, you say C obj, suppose. So this object obj, when you write obj dot add, then the add function of A class will get called or the add function of B class will get called. Do you realize there is some confusion over here? Which add function will be called? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so such problems are created in multiple inheritance. This is only possible when you have more than one base class. So in this example, which are your base classes? Can you tell me?
A and B.
And which is your derived class?
C.
C.
Exactly. Okay. Next is multi-level inheritance. Okay, we'll see the program examples a little later. Now let us see multi-level inheritance. So in multi-level inheritance, it is like you have a chain of classes. Means one class is derived from another, that class is again derived from another, and so on. For example, class A, from that you're deriving class B, and from class B, you're going to derive a class C. Then from C, you can derive class D as well. That means each class is derived from someone, and each class can be the parent also. For example, B has been derived from A, so B is the child class of A, and C is derived from B, so B is the parent class of C. So B can act as a parent as well as a child over here. So if you consider only A and B, A is what, can you tell me? Parent or child?
Parent. Parent.
Parent.
Exactly. Yes. And B is the child. Similarly, in case of B and C, can you tell me who is the child?
C.
Yes, and B is the parent. Okay, so it depends on which classes you are considering. Accordingly, one class will become the base and the other will become the derived class. So see this program for multi-level inheritance. Okay, there are multi-levels of inheritance in this. So you have a class X, you have a class Y, and you have a class Z. So according to this program, X is the parent for Y and Y is the parent for Z. Okay. So in class X, you have a method X. In class Y, you have a method Y. And similarly, in class Z, you have a method Z. And class Z is the last or most recent derived class. Okay, that is the, you can say it is the grandchild class. For X, Z is the grandchild, right? So you can say like that also. So if you want to create an object of class Z, okay, if you want to create an object of class Z, can you guess and tell me whether I will be able to call the method X from this obj? Is it possible? Obj is a object of class Z, and using this object I want to call a method X which is belonging to class X, where X is the grandparent of Z. Is it possible?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Why? Can you tell me? Because here I cannot see any direct relation between X and Z. So X and Z do not know each other. Is that the case? Or do they know each other?
They are linked to each other.
Yes. Okay. So it is possible. Okay. So X will derive Y and Y will derive Z. Means they are connected to each other. They are linked. Why? Because you can also see the extends keyword here. So the way of writing the extends keyword is nothing but the derived class name comes first and then the extends keyword and then the base class name. So the left hand side is a child of the right hand side. Like this you have to write over here. Okay, write it here only, nowhere else. So using obj, I can call method x. Using obj, I can call method y. That is, z can call its parent method. It can also call its grandparent method. And z can call its own method also. That is method z. Okay. Now you have another thing called as hierarchical inheritance. So you have seen multiple inheritance where you have more than one base class. So if this is base 1 and this is base 2, you have a derived class. So just the opposite. Just the opposite is hierarchical. On the left hand side, I have written multi-level, multiple, sorry. And on the right hand side, you have hierarchical. So as you can see in multiple, you have more than one base class, and in hierarchical, you have more than one derived class. In multiple, you have a single derived class, and in hierarchical, you have a more than one derived class. So it's just the reverse. In left hand side, you have more than one parent, and right hand side, you have more than one child. So such inheritance is possible if there are more than one subclasses. Subclass is nothing but derived class. So here, B, C, D are the children and A is the parent. So see this example. So can you tell me, if I write over here, suppose class A, and here I'm writing class B, and here I'm writing class C. And then if I want B to be the child of A, what should be my extends keyword? What means how I have to write the extend statement? Can you tell me?
Class B extends A.
Okay, very good. So left hand side is the derived class, right hand side is the parent class. Similarly for class C, for this example, how I have to write extends?
Class C extend B.
No, for this example. See this tree diagram here?
Same as extends A.
Yes, okay. Because here for this case, what I said, there is a single parent and multiple derived classes. So all will have the same extends statement or extends keyword. Okay. What you are telling me is for the multi-level in which we had ABC. Okay, that is not the case here. This is only one single parent. Okay. And for this example, for class A, is there any need to write extends keyword? Yes or no?
No.
No need, correct. Okay. So same example is written here as a program, class A, B extends A, and C extends A. So class A has method A, class B has method B, class C has method C. And they're going to print something. Okay. So if I create an object of class B, okay, for example, I write B obj equal to new B. And using this obj, tell me which methods I can call. Using the object of class B, which methods can I call as per the inheritance shown in this program?
A.
Okay, I can call method A. And which other method?
B.
Yes, correct. A and B. Can I call method C from obj?
No.
No.
Why? Why?
Because it's a child class, not of B.
Exactly. Because C is the child class of A, not of B. So using the B object, you cannot call the derived class of this. Means I'll tell you a little clearly. So if A is the parent, B is the child of A, and C is the child of B. So in case of A, B can call methods of class A as well as of class B, that is itself. But it cannot call the methods of its child. So it cannot call the methods of C class. The object of class B cannot call the methods of its own child. Okay, but the child can call the methods of its parent. That means C can call the methods of A, C can call the methods of its parent B, and its own also. That means whatever is above C, C can call that methods. A and B are above C, so C can call the methods of A and B and itself. But in case of B, only A is above B, so B can call A method as well as B method. But B cannot call the method of C. Is this clear to you?
Yes, clear.
Okay. Similarly, you can have another class D as per this example. B, C, D are the children of A. Okay. So here, I'll draw the diagram for you. You have A. From A, you have the child B, the child C, and the child D. So here you are creating an object of class B, of class C, and of class D. Okay, you can create object of whichever class you have. Okay, so B object is obj1. So using obj1, can I call method A? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you can call it. Now obj2 can also call method A because obj2 is of C class and C can call the methods of A. Whatever is above C, it can be called. Whatever is above D, that is A, it can be called. Okay. So objects can be of any derived class. Okay. You can create object of base class also. But if you're creating object of base class, then that object of base class cannot call the methods of its derived class. Okay, as I mentioned earlier. Okay. And one more thing, we have seen till now 4 types of inheritance. That is single, multi-level, multiple, and hierarchical. There is another type of inheritance which can be hybrid inheritance. I'll show you an example. You have a class A. From which you're going to derive a single class B. And from B, you can derive suppose C, you can derive D, and you can derive E suppose. So here, between A and B, you have simple inheritance. Do you agree with me? Between A and B, there is single inheritance. That means one parent and one child, right? That is single inheritance. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes. And between B, C, D, E, which type of inheritance is it? Do you remember? B, C, D, E.
Hierarchical.
It is hierarchical. Okay, I'll show you the diagram. Okay, this is what we saw just now, right? So you can imagine hierarchy like your tree data structure. If you know data structures, tree data structure, you have a root and then you have the leaves. It is similar to that. Okay, hierarchical. And multiple and hierarchical are just the opposite. Okay, so yeah, and there is confusion in the multiple inheritance where you have more than one parent, because which method will be called if the method name is same in A and B. Okay, so this type of inheritance is not possible in Java. Okay, this type of inheritance is possible in C++ language. And to resolve this issue, to solve this problem, you have to use the particular concepts like virtual functions. Okay, that time you have to solve this problem using virtual functions, and you can use pointers concept also, base pointer, derived pointer, to solve the problem of multiple inheritance in C++. But such solution is not possible in Java, because in Java the concept of pointers is absent. You do not have pointers in Java. Okay, in the next session I'll be showing you the comparison between C, C++, Python, Java. That time one point of difference is in Python you don't have pointers, in Java you don't have pointers concept, but in C, C++ you have pointers. Okay, so remember that. Because of this, there is no solution for multiple inheritance in Java, but this can indirectly be implemented using another concept. That means solution is different here. Because there is no pointer, solution is different. The solution is you have to use the concept of interfaces. Interface will help you to enable the multiple inheritance feature. Okay, that we'll see in our next session. Okay, so These were the basic programs to show you about inheritance. Okay. Now, method overriding. Okay, a small concept is there in this PPT. Suppose the subclass means child class, has the same method as in the parent. Okay, means what I was telling. In case of multiple, what do we have? Suppose we have three classes A, B, C. Then in class A, you have the method add. In class B also you have the method add. Then in class C, which add will get called? Okay, this is when you have the same name in the parents, the same name function in the parents. But there's another possibility that the same add function may be defined inside class C also. So here the add function means the function name is same, that is add in class A, B as well as C. So when in base class and derived class, okay, in base class and derived class, the function name is same. That time overriding takes place. But when you have same method name only in the base classes, that is only in A and B you have add function, then there is only the multiple inheritance case. But if that same add function is in C also, then you have overriding case. Okay, overriding is not an inheritance type, it is a concept. Okay, so overriding, what it will tell you, what it will do is, if the subclass provides the specific implementation of the method that has been provided by one of its parent class, means in A class, okay, suppose in A class, what add function will do? In A class, add function will print plus suppose. And in C class, add function is going to print minus suppose. Okay, just consider this example. In class A, if I call add function, plus will get printed. And if I call add function in class C, then minus will get printed, suppose. Then the function name is same, but the definition, what is written inside the function, what is written inside the add function, that is different. Okay, so the name may be same, but its definition may be different. That is what I've written, what is written in this PPT. If the subclass provides specific implementation of the same function which has already been implemented, right? Means only the definition of the function is changing. That is the meaning here. So what is the advantage of this? That class A is the parent, class C is the child. So always remember, usually the child has more features, or you can say it is more specific compared to the parent. For example, I'll give you a good example to understand. You have a parent class called as animal. And the characteristics of animal can be for a cat also. And the characteristics of animal can be for a dog also. That means your parent class is a generalization. It is a general concept. But your child classes are more specific. Am I right? Did you understand this example?
Yes, sir.
Okay, same thing is happening here. That means in your parent class, the add function will do something. And in the child classes, it may do something more specific. Okay, possibility, not compulsory. It depends on how you define the function. But usually inheritance by view, so that whatever is common between the classes, we'll write it on top. And whatever is different or something uncommon, that will put inside the child classes. Why? Because we want to reuse the characteristics. Whatever is common, don't write it again and again inside the cat and the dog. Whatever is common, write it inside animal. And whatever is specific of cat and dog, write it inside cat and dog respectively. That is why it's the most important feature of inheritance. Okay, so the rules of this overriding is the method must have the same name as that in the parent. Okay, means what? If the function is existing in the child and in the parent, then if you want to use overriding concept, sometimes it may be by accident that overriding is happening. Sometimes purposely you may want to do overriding. So in such cases, if you want it to happen, if you want overriding to happen, then what? The name of the function should be same, right? The parameters that you're passing, that should also be same. Suppose in parent class add function, you're passing 3 parameters, but in child class add function, there are only 2 parameters. Then it will be able to distinguish whether you're calling A function or C's function. That means whether you're calling parents add or whether you're calling the add of the child. That time it will be able to distinguish if the number of parameters that you're passing is different. Am I right? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Should I repeat? Yes? No problem. You can tell me. Should I repeat? Hello.
Repeat once again.
Yeah. You can tell me. Don't get scared or something like that. No problem. So I was saying that I'll show you an example directly. So you have a class A, and in this class you have an add function. So suppose this add function is returning an integer, I'll write int add, and then I pass parameters. These are the parameters. I hope you remember. Okay, and then I define something inside this function, and I have a, okay, for your convenience, let me write here parent and let me write here child. Okay, so that you'll understand better. And in the child class, you have a function with the same name that is compulsory for overriding. Here you can write, suppose you have int x, int y, and you have int z. So can you see these two the header? This is function header, you can call it, or the signature. So according to this parameters, you can easily distinguish which add function I'm referring to. Am I right? If I
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. So if I say I'm passing three parameters, you will say that I'm calling the add function of the child. If I pass two parameters, you are saying that I'm calling the add function of the parent. That is obvious, okay. But for overriding, that means if you want to have the exact copy, exact similarity, then three parameters only will have to be passed. This A, B, C and X, Y, Z, they do not differentiate, okay. They are nothing but variables. You cannot differentiate based on the name of the parameter, okay. Integer, integer, integer. Here also integer, integer, integer. So now again there is confusion which add function. Also the return type, that is integer. This is also same. So that time which add function will get called. This is this will help us in overriding. So overriding is telling us that method name should be same, parameters, the type of the parameter. For example, if you have int float int, then here also you need to have int float int. Okay, again similarity. But if you have int and then float, will I be able to differentiate between the add functions? Can you tell me yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, because the order of the data types is different. Here int float int, here int float. Okay, so this also should be same. You cannot have it different. Okay, and it is also called as an is a relationship. Okay, and one more thing, uh, though you may give this data type same or different, the returning type, okay, it will not make a difference. Okay, this is integer, this is float. Though they are different, still it does not check the data type, the return type. It will not check the return type. It will only check the name of the function and the order and the type of the parameters. It will not check the return type of the function. It may be same or it may be different. Okay, so what you need to be careful for overriding: function name, type of the parameters, and the order of the type of the parameters. And remember that inheritance is also called as is a relationship. Now inheritance is not only a program concept, it may be applied in real life, even in database management system and all those things. So usually they call inheritance as a is a relationship. When you draw the diagrams and all to represent inheritance, that relationship between the parent and the child is called as is a relationship. Okay, inheritance is called as is a relationship. That means B is a child of A, or A is a parent of B, like that. Okay. So example for overriding, here you have void run. So what is the return type for this function? Can you tell me? What type of value is this returning, this run function?
Nothing.
Yes, so its return type is void. Okay, if it's not returning, its type is void. Similarly, here also return type is void, but it does not make a difference for us if we want overriding. Now the function name is run. Here also function name is run. And parameters I'm not passing, zero parameters here. Here also zero parameters. So everything is same. It is satisfying overriding conditions. But as I told you, the definition, what you're writing inside the function, that can be different, right? So here it is printing vehicle is running. Here it is printing bike is running safely. So as I already mentioned, vehicle is a general concept and bike is more specific vehicle. That is why we are using inheritance. Okay. So when you call the methods of the classes using the object of bike, so using the derived class object, you're going to create an object of the derived class. Bike is the derived class because it extends the vehicle. So bike obj. Obj is an object of the derived class. And now using this derived class object, I'm calling the run function. Now, run of the vehicle will get called or run of the bike will get called. So whenever you have such a case where there is parent child, function name is same, parameters are same, or there are no parameters in both, that time it is a concept of overriding. And in overriding, always the run function of the child class will get called. Though the function name is same, okay, though the function name is same, that is run in the child as well as parent, because of this situation in this program, the run function of the child will always get called. Okay, so keep this case in your mind. Now see here what I'll show you. Getting to our problem of multiple inheritance, in which a b are the parent, a b are the parents and c is the child class. Now add function is there in a class, add function is in b class, and add function is in C class also. So first of all, there is confusion due to multiple inheritance. But for this case, if you consider, if I use the concept of overriding, then always the add function of C class and will get called because it is the derived class. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Right, because overriding. I'm not talking about number of parents over here. There is a parent, okay, it has add, child also has add. As I told you, this is overriding case. That means add of the child, that is C will get called. But since we have multiple parents case here, where add is in both the parents, then this is multiple inheritance. So here this case you cannot consider, okay? This case, which I've shown in the red color, you cannot consider. The case of overriding is considered only when you have a single parent and you may have multiple children. But single parent is compulsory. You may have single parent, single child, or single parent, multiple children. But multiple parents is not allowed. Okay, single parent, then only overriding. Is this much clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here run function of child will get called. So can you tell me what will be the output for this program which is in the PPT?
Bike
What
is
will be
running
the,
safely.
yes, exactly. Okay, bike is running safely. Okay. So here is another example. You have the characteristics of a bank. For example, you are going to deposit some money, you're going to withdraw some money, you're going to check your balance. That is common in all the banks. But maybe in SBI bank, you're getting 7% interest. Okay, maybe in ICICI bank, you're getting 18% interest. So this is the feature specific to SBI and ICICI bank. So those concepts of rate of interest you'll put in the respective banks. But the depositing money, withdrawing money, which are the common characteristics of bank, they will go in the bank class as per this example. Am I right? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yeah, why are you taking so long to respond? Like, this is just common sense, right? So means like, is there some delay in the network issue, or am I getting some problem, or you are only responding late? Means because whenever I respond in my lectures, I immediately like give the answer. So yeah, so right, you can respond because I'm not like any professor or you're going to get less marks or anything like that. You can respond immediately, no problem. Okay, so this was what I was talking about. Uh, Now the difference between overloading and overriding. So can anyone tell me, as per our previous discussion and classes, what is overloading if you remember? You can give right answer, wrong answer, no problem, but just answer me. I had given you the example of the plus operator. Sometimes it acts as addition, sometimes concatenation, right? Do you remember that example?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is itself the example for overloading, best example that you find everywhere. The same entity or the same thing can act in different ways, right? Plus operator can be as an addition operator as well as it can act as a concatenation for strings. So that is overloading. Means depending on certain cases, like they may be, what is the case? It depends on the data type. If the data type is integer, then it will act as addition. If the data type is a string, then it will act as concatenation. So there is some condition based on that it will perform its operation, either addition or concatenation. Similarly, in overloading, if you're talking about the function overloading, okay, that was operator overloading, right? Plus is an operator, so it is operator overloading. If you talk about function overloading, okay, function overloading means there should be a little difference. For example, in the child class, okay, suppose in the child class only I don't have the parent class for now. I'm only in the child class. Here in this child class, you can have another add function, suppose, but this time you're going to pass only two parameters. Then this is a case of overloading, not of overriding. Similarly, in the parent child also you can consider. And if number of parameters are different, then it becomes overloading. For example, our previous example was parent had add, child also had add. There were three parameters, and here also three parameters. That time it will be overriding, in which child class ka add will only get called. Okay, but there are ways to call the other thing also. Not necessarily always the child class ka add will get called. Okay, there are ways to call the parents add function also, that we'll discuss later. But the add function of the child class was getting called always in overriding. But in overloading, what happens, since there's a difference in the number of parameters or also maybe in the type of the parameters, in such cases it detects the difference, and based on which parameters you're passing, it will understand which function has to be called. So that is overloading. So there's a difference. Function name will be same in overloading. In overriding also function name is same. But in overriding, parameters have to be exactly same. In overloading, parameters must be different. If the parameters are same, for example, if the parameters are same for this example like this, then it will always consider overriding. It will not consider overloading. But if the parameters are different, that time it will consider overloading. Is this much clear?
Yes.
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 Yes, clear.
Yeah. So thank you for your responses. This, motivates me also that yes, you are understanding. Okay. So in overloading, as I said, um, we are comparing both now. So it increases readability. Okay, readability means what? You can understand that what, why you're passing those many parameters and all. Means it is what you can say. It is sensible. You can understand it. But in overriding, since the parameters are same, function name is same and all, you have to always look inside the function what is written in order to know what will be the output. Right? Means it is not that clear. Like, for example, that is the meaning of readability. How easy it is or how easily you can understand. So method overriding is used to provide the specific implementation of the method. That means, as I said, in overriding, what happens? Always the child class add function will get called. That means child class is always more specific compared to the parent class, as I mentioned earlier. That means if you're calling a method of child class, it is more specific. That is the meaning of overriding. You are calling the more specific implementation. Then on in overloading, point number 2, method overloading is performed within the class, within the child class. You can also perform within two or more classes, I think. We'll test that. Okay, so it is usually performed within the same class, overloading. And overriding you definitely need more than one class, that is minimum 2 classes, so that you have the overriding. Okay, and overriding for that inheritance concept, that means is a relationship. Then method overloading is the third point. Method overloading. In case of method overloading, parameters must be different. I just now told you why and how and all that. But in case of overriding, parameters must be same. Right? We have seen all these points. This is in the table. I've shown it here. Okay, so let's see some programs now. And another reminder, just complete your assignments as soon as possible. Okay, so that when the topic is fresh itself, you'll be able to solve the assignments better. Now, in employee, there is a inheritance file over here. So see here, you have a base class, you have a derived class, and you have another class called as JT4 inheritance. And the file name is also JT4 inheritance.java. So that is why public keyword over here will not give you any error. It is optional though. Public you may or may not give. It will not have any problem. But if you give public to the classes whose name is not same as the file name, I've already discussed this, but I'm just revising. If public is given to a class whose name is not equal to the file name, then it gives you error, as you can see here. Just a minute. Okay, so in this inheritance class, you're going to have a main function in which you're creating objects of base class as well as of derived class. Okay, this class inheritance is an independent class, means it is not inherited from any other class. But there is a derived class which you have inherited from the base class. And base class is also, you can say, it is not derived from any other class. So base is the parent and derived is the child. An inheritance class over here, this JT4 inheritance, is just a class, any normal class. And in this class, I'm going to use the concept of inheritance. Means in this class, I'm going to call the functions from my child and parent. So in this, first of all, remember base is your parent and derived is your child. So if I call any method from base class, then those methods should be in base class only. Base class object, that is B in this case, the object B is of base class. B cannot call the methods of derived class. B can call the methods only of base class. So which is the method of base class? You have a getX function and you have a setX function. So using B, I have called here setX function. So with this function, what I'm doing, I'm passing the value 4. What that will happen then? This value 4 will get stored in X. And this X I'm going to store in the X variable of the class. I hope you remember this keyword. Do you remember this? This keyword. Is it?
Yes, clear.
Yeah. Okay. So that is what I've used here. So I'm going to indirectly assign the value 4 to my X of the class. Okay, so 4 I have passed. And then using getX function, what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply print I am in base class setting X now. And then this will be the output, this print statement. Okay. Now using derived class, that is your derived class, I can call the function setX as well as getX, which are of the parent. And using derived class, I can call getX and setY of the child as well. So firstly, I'm calling setX, which is of the parent. So it will set the value 56 to the X variable of the base class. And in the derived class, there is variable Y. that will get set by the set y. And then to check that whether it has been set properly, I'm going to call the getX and getY function for the D object. Using the object D, which is the derived class object, since I have called the parent class method as well as child class method, I'm going to check it now whether it has been happened or not. So I'll run this program. Okay, so yeah, so this is the output. So this 4 was which I had called over here, this for the B class. Base class, I had created object B, and using that I had set X for the B class. That has happened. That will happen, right? We know that. But using the derived class, also I have set 56 and 88 to the X and Y of my base and derived, right? This D dot get X means get X is the function of the base class over here, get X. So X of the base class has been set to 56 using the D class object. And using the D class object, I am also able to set Y, and Y is the variable of the derived class. So is this program clear, or should I explain more in detail? Any doubts, anything you can tell me? Is it clear?
Yes.
Clear, right? Everyone else, what about you all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So this also we have verified that whether it is possible to call from the derived class, is it possible to call the base class? Now, one more thing to notice, using the derived class, I have set the variable X of the base class. Okay, now if I check using my base class object, what is my base class object? The base class object name is B. Okay, over here. Now using this object B, if I want to check the value of X, which is in the B class, I will call the getX function, right? If I want to check the value of X, which is in the B class, and I will print it. So I'll just write it here. So using the B object, the base class object, I want to check the value of X now. Why I want to check and why I'm doing this is because using the B class object, I have set the value 4. And then using the D class object, I have set the value as 56. So what should be the value of X now? Using the B class object. So it should be 4. Okay. See, 4 is getting displayed here. This 4 is by this getX. Okay. So remember that it depends on using which object you're calling the function, right? You may say that by the B object, I have set the value to 4, and using the D object, I have set the value to 56, and I've set the value for the same variable X, but it depends on which object you're using. As you can see, the value didn't change to 56. Using B class object, the value is 4 only. Are you getting it, what I'm trying to say? Is it clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
clear.
Yes. Okay. So it depends on the object. If you use B, then you'll get the value whichever you used for the B object. If you use B as the object to call any function, then that value 4 will come if you use the B object. But if you use the D object, you'll always get 56 for this example. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so this was another program to demonstrate. Then another important thing that I'll just mention, a theory part, that is in case of constructors, okay, if you have base and derived class, if you have constructors, then constructor, can anyone define constructor quickly?
Construction is
Class name and
special member
are same.
function.
Yeah, I I got it. Yeah. So constructor name is same as that of the class. Okay. So for example, this one that I'm showing you, parent class has parent as the constructor, and child class has child as the constructor. So whenever, okay, I have written it up and down, but uh, think that parent is on top and child is here. Okay. So whenever I call, whenever I create an object of child class, okay, whenever I create an object, you know that constructor gets called. But whenever I create an object of child class, first the constructors of parent get called, and then the constructors of the child get called. But when I create an object of only parent class, that time constructors of only parent will get called, constructor of child will not get called. Okay, because child is inheriting from the parent. Okay, child is what? Descendant of the parent. So child class, when you're creating an object of child class, always the constructors of parent will get called first, and then the constructors of the child. Okay, so remember this one point, and this concept we will carry forward in the next session. So quickly put your attendance in the chat box and ask me if you have any doubts. And if no doubts and you put your attendance, you can leave this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.